Welcome to the Parenting Tools with Special Children. This month, our topic was increasing attention and being present. I feel both are really important. I think most parents want to help their kids increase attention, and I think most kids want parents to be more present. So let's dig a little deeper. Be in the here and now. Sounds simple, not always easy. So why is it important to be in the here and now? If you could just take a minute and think to yourself, why is it important to be present? Present with your kids, present for yourself. Now I would like to give you a few reasons why I feel it is so important to be in the present moment, and others. Abraham Maslow is a very famous psychologist who came up with the hierarchy of needs. And according to Abraham Maslow, the ability to be present in the moment is a major component of mental wellness. I feel now more than ever, we really need help being in the moment and having a strong mental support, mental health, because we're going through some challenging times with COVID, and there's many challenges and changes, and being present will really help us through some of those changes. Let's look at some other reasons why it's important mentally to be in the moment. According to Latsu, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. I don't know about you, but I feel any parent wants to be at peace, right? Now, I think this is an interesting way of looking at it. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. And think about when you're thinking of things in the past. Usually, when we're thinking of something in the past, we're thinking about an event, we're thinking, how could I have done that differently? Or I wish it was different. Or we're ruminating of what someone did and we're angry and we're reliving that in our head because we're so angry. So that's not going to make us feel good, right? That's going to kind of bring us down. It's going to depress our feelings. And what if we're thinking about something in the past in a fond way? Maybe you're thinking of a great memory of a good time. And then if you're thinking of it in a fond way, just reminiscing, that's great. But if you're thinking about it, wishing it was like that now, that's going to depress you because it's not. So when our mind is in the past, we just have to be mindful what it's doing in the past. Now, if you're anxious, you are living in the future. So let's think about when our mind wanders to the future. Now, if you're sitting down with your planner and thinking in the future of when you want to go on vacation or planning out different events, that's different. But if you are if you're thinking of the future in a sense, you're worrying about something, you're afraid something will happen, then that will lead to anxiety. Think about it. Look at our kids. If our kids have challenges, a lot of times we worry about them. We worry what's going to happen in the future. How are they going to handle certain events in their lives? Parents of kids with special needs spend a lot of time worrying, and I know this, I do too. It is common, and it's actually unavoidable. But if we're mindful of how much we're living in the future and worrying about it, and in those moments we kind of come back to the present moment, it may help us to kind of decrease some of those anxious producing thoughts. And living at peace, living in the present. It is true. Think about if you're out gardening or you're doing something and you're not thinking of anything, you're just in that moment. Many people find that walking or riding their bike. Some people paint and they're just completely engrossed in that. So if there's something that you do where you're mentally just engrossed in the activity, most of those times in those moments, you really are at peace. So something to think about. And one more way of looking at it. According to Eckhart Tolle, being in the moment, guilt regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness. All forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much focus on the past and not enough presence. Now, that's sort of what I was saying on the last slide. You know, when we're thinking about the past or we're thinking about what could have happened or should have happened, that evokes guilt in us, right? We feel guilty for acting away or guilty for something to happen or regretting that something happened in the way it did. So it is true. I feel like these emotions really do surface when our mind goes into the past in certain manners where we're ruminating on something that we cannot change. And unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear caused by too much focus on the future and not enough presence. And the same thing as what I spoke about before, you know, or tension, unease, what's going to happen? You know, we're worried about the unknown. And so, you know, if we want to cut down on some of those feelings, we can spend more time thinking about the present moment and living in the present moment. So let's talk about how we can live in the moment. What are some of the tools and strategies we can use to help us live in the moment or be more present or increase our attention as we're talking about our kids? One way, and many people probably already heard about this, is mindfulness. So the best way to capture moments is to pay attention. This is how we cultivate mindfulness. Mindfulness means being awake. It means knowing what you were doing. Knowing what you were doing. Pretty simple, right? Jon Kabat-Zinn is a very famous psychologist who really brought mindfulness practices to the Western world. And he did this 30 years ago. And because of him and his passion for researching the impact of mindfulness, there have been thousands of research studies showing the benefits of mindfulness practices in everything from government to schools to business to individuals with anxiety, with pain, chronic pain, parents with special needs. There's been research, including my own, on the benefits of mindfulness in decreasing stress. Now, mindfulness, there are many layers to it. We're just keeping it on the surface right now, which we're just speaking of the component of being in the present moment, which is the core of mindfulness. There is also meditation and yoga, which are forms of being in the present moment. But right now, we're just going to keep it as what can we do to keep our minds in the present moment and increase that muscle of focus and attention for us and for our kids. So let's talk about the mind first. The element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world and their experiences, to think and feel, the faculty of conscious and thought. So our mind is both helpful and not always helpful for being in the present moment. The mind is a tricky thing because we think we can control our thoughts, and honestly, we can't. Think about some of the thoughts that come in your head. Have you actively made that thought come into your head, or does it just come into your head, right? We really don't have control of our thoughts, but we can control the floodgates and we can start to monitor our thoughts. So we're focused, so we can kind of spend more time and energy focusing on certain thoughts than others. So like I said, we're not going to get too deep into that. There are other courses where I go deeper into it, but I want to give you that foundation right now with some really good tips to just help really start to be more present. Mindful or mindful. This is typically us. Think of how often you are doing something, but your mind is somewhere else, thinking of something else. And when you're doing that, the energy, your energy is somewhere else. It's not present with the person you were with. So how can we be more present with our kids? Well, when we're with our kids, be present, thinking of what we're doing. Try to keep your mind focused on being with them. Because honestly, one of the best things we can give our kids is undivided attention for like 10 minutes. It doesn't even have to be that long. But just to fill their bucket up and say, I have that energy and attention from us, really is impactful for our kids, and it's so, so helpful. And kids are pretty easily in the moment. They really, I would say younger kids, more than older kids, but younger kids are great at this. They're out playing, their mind's in play. They're thinking of what they're doing. If they made a mistake 2 hours ago and broke something by accident, they're not thinking of that. They're not guilty, thinking, I feel so guilty, I just broke something. No, they're in the moment playing. And I think we can learn something from them. We tend to carry things into the future that maybe could be best left behind. Now, older kids or teenagers, this is where the anxiety starts to come in, right? They start to not be in that present moment, and they start to worry about things and think about other things and ruminate on different stuff. And then that anxiety comes for the fear and the unknown. And so for them too, mindfulness is a great practice to refocus, come back into the present moment. Now, food. And this may sound odd, mindfulness, food. Well, food is actually something that can either bring us into the moment and help our kids focus with attention, or it can actually be a hindrance for attention. There was a research study done that looked at food additives with children, I think it was at the age between 3 and 9. And they wanted to see, it was a combination of food additives, how it impacted the kids. Now, in this study, it was statistically significant, which means more than 85% of the kids showed when they had the combination of these preservatives, their arousal and attention and hyperactivity increased when they had these preservatives. So when we want our kids to be paying attention, we have to think, what are we feeding them? Because if we're giving them something that's changing the chemicals in their mind, making them more hyperactive, we can teach them all we want to focus, but if the chemicals in their brain are wired to be somewhere else and do something else, we can't fight the chemistry. So it's really beneficial to see, what are they eating? The foods on the other side, the colorful, the fruits, the vegetables, they don't have preservatives, right? And they also have a lot of brain, blueberries are great for the brain. So is the fat from the avocados, vitamin C from the kiwis and the strawberries. So we have to be mindful of the food our kids are eating. I will tell you, I am one that we do give our kids sugar. I believe in balance. But I know that if my son has sugar, forget the next 2 hours, because he's going to be bouncing off the wall and hyperactive. So I am fully aware of that. I would never give him sugar and then make him do something or focus or go to sit down at a dinner knowing that he's counteracting or battling the impact of what that sugar is doing to his system. So we want our kids to be more focused and pay attention. We got to be mindful of what they're eating. And sugar is one that really can make a lot of kids more aroused. And sugar's in a lot of things. It's in ketchup. So it's not just candy. We have to be mindful. There's a lot of sugar in ketchup, in peanut butter. So there are hidden sugars to be mindful and aware of too. And the same goes with us. The next thing that can help us, that's a simple thing that we can do, is to be in the moment, is water, hydration. When we are dehydrated, brain fog can occur. It's hard to focus, and it's as simple as drinking water. This is one thing that I advocate for us, for our kids, is to have those big bottles, drink water, send water with your kids to school in a water bottle. Make sure they're drinking it. I tell my kids they can't come back home in the door if they have a full water bottle. No, I do tell them that, but I don't keep them outside, because I really do know the importance of drinking water. So drinking water is another way we can be more present in the moment and pay attention. So we talked more about the mind. Now let's talk about the body. And the mind and body, and they're interconnected, but I've just split them just a little bit. The physical structure of a person, including the bones, flesh, and organs. Our body. So how can we use our body to be more focused? Well, when we are doing certain things, it makes our brain focus. So it's different sports, right? Great, because we're in the moment. We're having to think of what's going on at that moment. Soccer, right? You can't be thinking of what homework you have when someone's coming down, the field with a soccer ball. Right? You have to be in the moment, paying attention. So sports are great. Even just going out back and playing catch with your kid, catching back and forth and chatting, that's such a wonderful thing, because then they're thinking about things while also having to focus on the ball. Great way to train our kids to focus more. And if you think about focusing, it's a muscle. The more it's an action, the more you do, the better you get at it. So having those opportunities to flex that focus muscle will help to make it easier for kids to focus in those moments when they have to focus, right? So catching a ball in the backyard, kicking a ball, archery, such a wonderful way to work on that muscle of focus. And you really do, you have to kind of aim and focus. I really love archery for that. So I'm just giving you different ideas. Nature is a great way to be in the present moment. One, because there aren't any electronics to take your kids' tension away. I love when my kids are going through things and I can't figure out what's going on. We take a walk in the woods, and usually within 20 minutes of the walk, I finally get them to open up, because we're in nature, we're walking, we're talking about life. It's such a great way, and really we're focusing on that moment when we're chit-chatting, because there's not other things going on that can distract our kiddos. So just walking in nature is a great way. And exercising, so climbing wall. I guarantee you this girl is not thinking of anything else but where her hand is going to go next and where her foot is. So doing things like this, where it helps your kids to be in that moment, to focus, to attention, and for us too, the climbing wall. That's a great way to be in the moment. Martial arts, another wonderful tool for being present and really knowing where your body is in space, and doing things and focusing on in the moment what your body has to do. I'm a big proponent of martial arts, any form, taekwondo, karate, jujitsu, tai chi. I love it. And yoga is the other one that is just wonderful, because it makes you slow down. It makes you think of where your body is in space. You're having to really pay attention to and hold postures and positions, and you're really feeling, how often do we just check in with our body throughout the day? You're like me, probably none, right? We never just check in and see how we're feeling and see what our body's doing. We're in our heads doing things out here. We're not really checking in here. So yoga is a great way to just come back and check in. The other component of yoga, which a lot of people don't know about, is a lot of the yoga positions mirror early reflexes that we've had when we were kids. So some of our kids with developmental challenges who may have not integrated some of those early reflexive movements that are part of our normal development, if they are doing yoga, they are actively working and doing these movements again to maybe help integrate some of those movements and reflexes they may have missed integrating when they were younger. So very big proponent of yoga as well for us and our kids. And emotions. So now we're coming back to how to be in the present moment. Well, when we're feeling safe, loved, and regulated, is it easier to feel comfortable in the moment versus anxious, stressed, and sad? It's, emotions are something we can't be happy all the time. And I know that. And life has its ups and downs. But I try to keep our bar in the family in the normal range of feeling safe, loved, and regulated. Now, we definitely go in and out of that by far because life happens. But if that baseline, if we're in that more often, that safe and loved, it's so much easier to focus on things. Now look at this little guy. Who do you think, if you're going to be talking to them, who's going to be able to pay more attention in the moment? The kid that's feeling safe and loved and happy? You think he's going to listen easier than the kid that's feeling anxious and worried about something? Probably the kid that's feeling safe and content, not worried in that moment. And it's not easy for some of our kids to feel this way because a lot of our kids that have increased sensitivities to sound, to noise, to touch, to their environment, typically their nervous systems are on fight or flight more often than not. And so they are in this mode of this little guy biting his nails. They're feeling this more than the other side, than the other kids, just naturally. And it's really important to help them to make sure they get those moments where they are feeling calm and regulated. So another reason why mindfulness, I feel, is so good for our special kiddos. And I'll give you some tools towards the end to help our kiddos to feel that more calm and regulated. And how about us, our emotions? Now, when we're feeling the way on the left, we're tired, we're frustrated, we've just overworked, our bucket's empty, right? When situations come about, are we going to be more resilient and mindful in that moment and act in a certain way? Or are we just going to be like in survival mode and say, whatever, I don't care? Probably that one. The guy on the left, he's feeling happy, right? Or he looks like he's happy. He is feeling good and content. If a problem comes his way, do you think he's going to be able to handle it? Probably. So it's important for us to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and being in the moment and making sure, like, I'm drinking water, I'm eating right? We've got to make sure, because think of challenges. Who is going to deal with it better? Guy on the right or the guy on the left? And so which one do you want to be? So I hope, as I share with you this next tool, to start to integrate some of the top mindfulness tools that I really like doing, I hope this gives you motivation to really do that. And what I'm going to give to you is my number one tool, stopping. I love this tool. Pretty simple, but none of us probably do it. So the stop method is just a great way to just stop, take a breath, connect with yourself before you go to the next thing you have in life. I use this for myself and I use this for my kids. So for us adults, I'm going to walk you through it. S, stop. So just stop what you're doing. T, take a breath. What I typically recommend, depending, some people are not comfortable taking more than a 3-count breath. So it depends on your comfort level. I would say the longer and deeper the breath, the better. But if you aren't comfortable with that yet, and breathing in for the count of 3 seconds is about all you have, do that. And I always say about 3 in and out. So breathing in, 1, 2, 3, and out. Breathing out. And when I breathe out, I really like to push the air to really let all that stress out. Let it out, like none's left. And so I do that 3 times. And then observe how you're feeling, observe your surroundings, observe your body, right? We're coming back to our body. How is our body feeling in this moment? Is it feeling relaxed? Are your shoulders touching your ears? Are you hunched over? Are you feeling sore in the back because you were sitting too long? Listen to our body. So let's observe, what's our body telling us? And how are we feeling? Are we feeling tired? Are we feeling happy? Check in. How are you feeling emotionally? And your senses, look around. Is it a sunny day? What do you see? What is in your line of sight? Just enjoy something that's around you. And P, proceed. Then go with the next thing. So this literally can take up to 30 seconds to 3 minutes. It just depends on how much time you want to take. But this is so wonderful because honestly, think about your day. How often do you stop? You probably go from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. By stopping, it gives us a chance to just check in and see where we're at. And so maybe we're not as reactive, but we're more proactive in what we do. Now, I also like to do this with kids because, especially with our kids with transitioning challenges, stopping is such a wonderful thing. When we're going to school. Now, obviously, we have to build in time for this, so we can't be late. But, when we're going from one thing to the next, if they stop, take that breath, give their nervous system a chance to regulate before going to the next thing and observe how they're feeling, this is a great tool for those kids that have a trouble transitioning because they're able to check in with themselves. Breathing, the deep breathing, it sends a signal to our nervous system to calm. When we are breathing very shallowly, think when you're running and you're breathing very shallowly here, the nervous system's a little revved up. The quickest way to calm down a nervous system is deep breaths. So great tool to use throughout the day for you and your kids. Programs for our children. I just want to give you a list of some great programs to do with your kiddos. The programs for children are really, really beneficial. It's hard for parents sometimes when we're teaching our kids to do things. It's easier when it's coming from the outside. So these are some of my favorite ways of helping kids to learn how to be more present, to increase attention, to increase focus, and have that mindfulness component in there. Cosmic Kids Zen Den is great. The Cosmic Kids Yoga and that Cosmic Kids Yoga, they have all different lengths of videos. And they're typically, I would say, for younger kids, maybe ages 3 to 11, maybe 10. The Zen Den, you could go a little bit more in age. Zen Den's great because it shows how to handle different challenges, how to calm down when you're having strong emotions. So really good videos from, and you can find those on YouTube. Go Zen is an app that is wonderful, and that is an app that applies more for older kids. And there's some great strategies for kids on handling stress and anxiety mindfully. Wonderful tool, Go Zen. Ninja Focus app. I've heard wonderful reviews about that. Several parents that I know use the Ninja app to help with their kids with going to sleep at night, with calming down, handling strong emotions as well, and attention. So the Ninja Focus, it's like a muscle. We're trying to help focusing. So all these different tools really do combined can really help. And Smiley Mind is an app with body scans and check-ins and more. And a body scan is great, especially a lot of the kids that I work with don't have a lot of body awareness. They're all here in the head and they're not in their bodies as much. So a body scan is when you kind of close your eyes and they walk you through scanning your body. So you're checking in with your body, which is a great tool to have. And occupational therapy. If you are close to if you can find occupational therapy where you are living, and you feel that your child does have attention issues and maybe regulation issues, or is clumsy, has some coordination challenges, occupational therapy really can help with that. They have many different programs, and we work on several different aspects of development that can help really with attention as well. So that is another tool for children. And now for us. These are some great tools. Stop, which is what I showed you. Headspace is another app that has a lot of different meditations, mindfulness programs. Calm is another one. A mindfulness-based course. So there are a lot of courses out there. There's some MBSR is a mindfulness-based stress reduction course that also helps to start to go inward, quiet the mind, to be more present. And movement. So remember the movement activities I showed for your child, those work for you as well. Same thing. Now with the mindfulness-based course, I also have one. So if you are looking at going a little deeper, I highly encourage, I will be launching a beta group this May, and then the full launch will go out in the fall. And this is a course that works with really many levels of parents and stress. So the goal of this course that is now in the final phases of being created is to really help parents to decrease stress and deepen those connections to themselves and to their kids. And, I looked at all of the areas that are causing parents to feel stress. So there is obviously stress management techniques in there, but there's also, we go into parenting techniques, because parts of the things that cause us stress are when we don't know how to handle certain challenging situations with our kids, and it happens over and over again. So I give you those tools to handle those challenging moments. Having patience in that moment really is challenging. So we go through ways of helping you to step-by-step kind of get to a place where your bucket is filled a little bit more and you have more energy, so you have more patience in those challenging moments. So we really go through many different tools, and I combine mindfulness, I combine CBT, cognitive behavior therapy tools, I combine stress management tools. We combined a lot of different approaches to make really this a very comprehensive course. So if this is something you are interested in, I feel free to go on my website and you can click on the parenting course and you can sign up for the beta group. And but start with these techniques I gave you today. They're really good techniques to start with your kids, especially the stop. And I hope you enjoy, and I will see you next month.